But another reason that I am a photographer is because the world is so broken. There's so much anger and angst and darkness and evil that this is a small way that I can sort of push that darkness back a little bit.
Welcome to Growing Inspiration, the podcast that nurtures your passion for the arts and creativity. I'm your host, Shayna McLean, and I'm thrilled to take you on this delightful journey through the vibrant world of arts and culture. In each episode, you can expect engaging interviews with a diverse range of artistic and creative individuals. We'll delve into what inspires them, explore their unique creative processes, and discover how their art enriches their lives. Together, we'll uncover the beauty of literature, the performing arts, the visual arts, food, wine, and spirits, and the inspiration gained through travel. Whether you're a connoisseur or just beginning your exploration, our conversations will inspire you to deepen your understanding and appreciation of the arts. So get ready to discover new perspectives, spark your creativity, and join a community of fellow art lovers. I have known today's guest since we were teenagers at summer camp. She married my cousin, and now many years and several states later, I had the opportunity to spend some time talking to her about her passion for capturing tiny details and looking for beauty all around her. Katrina Steele is a self-taught photographer who finds inspiration in nature. She loves to get outside and notice what the seasons and days have brought. Listen in as we talk about how she learned technical aspects of photography, the online challenges that spark her creativity, the place for authentic art in the age of AI, and the importance of public wild spaces. Hi, Katrina. Thank you for joining me today.
Hey, Shayna. Thanks for having me on your show.
So one of the aspects of my business is to talk about the visual arts, as well as I've had a lot of people talking about like literature and the performing arts and so forth. And photography is something that I really love. I love to look at it, and I wish I knew how to do it better. So I'm really excited to have you talk about your experience and how you have gained your expertise and what you love. Can you talk to our listeners, just tell us a little bit about yourself and then how you got into photography?
Sure. Well, I'm a photographer from northeast of Columbus, Ohio, in a very rural area, which I love. That suits my personality very well. And I'm a wife and a mom of 6, and I love books and coffee and music and gardening and hiking and things like that. And photography meshes really well with all the outdoor type stuff that I like to do. And I'm a photographer because I want to document my days and be someone who notices things. And it's something that I love to do. It's good for me to have something for me outside of just all my other duties. And I want to share my love of things with other people and stay connected to family and friends and do something that lasts and to create. Those are all real good, true things. But another reason that I am a photographer is because the world is so broken. There's so much anger and angst and darkness and evil that this is a small way that I can sort of push that darkness back a little bit. There's a time and place for the images that are really visceral and really evoke super strong emotions that, because those can lead to wonderful things. They can lead to activism and to change and to people recognizing things that they didn't know were going on before. But that's not really where my heart is. I'm more of look at these beautiful things and look at the lambs in the pasture and look at the leaves on the trees and the flowers that are blooming and that sort of thing. And one of my favorite quotes is from the late Rich Mullins. He was a wonderful songwriter. And he said, "There's so much beauty around us for just 2 eyes to see. But everywhere I go, I'm looking." And that's kind of my thing. Like I want to look, I want to notice. And photography forces me to take a moment and just breathe it all in and be thankful for that. And as far as how I got started, like most kids, I had the 110 film camera when I was in middle school and everything, and then graduated to one of those little plasticky point and shoot 35 millimeter ones, and this was back in the day when you had to send the film in to the developer or drop it off at the photo hut. It was before the digital thing. And then in high school, I took a photography class, which was super fun. I actually had an elective available and wanted to take that and got to do stuff in the dark room and work with a film camera, a 35 millimeter film camera that had been my dad's. So that was kind of a neat connection, being able to use his old Minolta camera. And I used that, through college. And I also had a cheapy one for college as well. But it wasn't until when my kids were little. So probably, I don't know, 20 years ago, that I got my first digital camera, which I think was like a Kodak Easy Share or something. I'm trying to remember the name. I should have looked it up. But that was, it didn't take great pictures, but it took pictures and it was fun and whatever. But I still didn't know that one. You couldn't really do a whole lot with it. It was kind of a point and shoot. But then maybe 15, 20 years ago, for Christmas one year, my husband got me an actual, like a real big camera, like a DSLR. And he got it off eBay from a student who had to have it for a photography class. And so it was in great shape and had all the manuals and had all the stuff with it. It was basically new. And so I got to learn on that and play around with that. And was on auto mode for a really long time until I realized, now hang on, there's more to it than just having it on auto. I can actually adjust stuff and make decisions for myself and not let the camera decide. And that really was the jump start to, okay, well, let's learn everything we can about, aperture and f-stop and shutter speed and all these things that make up an image, so that you can start to figure out how to do what you want it to do. And I mean, I'm still learning stuff constantly, but I've started off with that first Nikon DSLR and have upgraded since with, better lenses, better camera bodies and things like that. So that's kind of, it's been a long time, but it's the last 15 years or so that I've really made advances in what I've learned and what I've been able to create. So
have you taken classes from other people, or have you mostly done like your own reading to learn these new things?
Well, I love reading. And so I've learned a ton of stuff through just checking out every single book in the library and then begging the librarians to interlibrary loan me other stuff that sounds good. And now with the internet, there's so many things that are available online. If there's something you want to learn, you can probably type it in a search bar and someone will come up with something that they've learned and they videoed it so you can watch it. I have taken a few classes, nothing formal as far as, a degree or anything like that. But I've taken classes through the Click community, which is an online community of photographers, and they have classes in all sorts of different things. I've taken some through that. And then through Creative Live, which is another online platform that has different classes. So just when I have a little extra time or a little extra money, I'll be like, oh, that class looks really good. Maybe I should invest in that and learn something else. So.
Mm-hmm. Great. And do you have, would you recommend a particular brand of camera or type of camera if people are wanting to get into photography?
Well, anymore, I cringe to say this, but cell phone cameras are amazing now and everybody has one. And so I think if you have a cell phone with a decent camera and you learn to use it really well, you can probably achieve a lot of what you want to do. It's just a matter of investing the time into learning how to do it, which I have not done because I prefer my DSLR. And so I don't want to learn, how to take amazing photos with the cell phone. That's not where my heart is. I like the process of actually holding a camera and figuring out all the settings and things. So I think if you have a cell phone with a decent camera and you learn how to use that adequately and you're able to achieve what you want, and then you still want more, sure, go ahead and invest in a good system. And I'm a Nikon girl. I've always had Nikons and I'm familiar with them and I really like them. But that's what I'm used to. I know Canon is another huge, a lot of people shoot Canon. The mirrorless is a big thing now. A lot of people are jumping to the mirrorless bodies because they're slightly lighter, but then you add all the frame or all the lenses and everything else and they wind up being just as heavy, but they're a little more, they seem a little more compact. And the systems now for the images are just phenomenal. I mean, the number of megapixels you can get and the clarity and the sharpness is just, it's crazy good. I just don't want to necessarily jump ship and invest in something else at this point because I'm so used to what I have and I can do what I want with what I have. So I don't need to, I don't need to get anything else right now. But there are so many options and the costs have really come down. Expensive professional bodies are still thousands and thousands of dollars, which unless you're shooting, high fashion, whatever for New York City, something or other, you don't need that. If you're not going to blow it up onto a billboard, you don't need all that stuff. It's enticing, but just a basic DSLR would be sufficient for most people.
Okay, great. And I know you've mentioned previously that you prefer or you really enjoy at least using the macro type lenses. And that kind of goes, I think, along with what you were saying about, paying attention and noticing the beauty
Right.
around you. Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. One of the things that really is one of my favorite parts of photography is the macro photography, which is so weird because you'd think it'd be like micro, like microscope, but for some reason it's macro, even though it's small. So I don't know who decides these things. but yeah, the macro photography is just the close up photography, the detail shots, the the insects and the flower petals and the raindrops and that sort of thing. The small things that you wouldn't normally see unless you slow down and really look for them and, work around the different angles of it to see what looks best and how the light's coming and everything else. To me, there's something very satisfying and very intriguing about trying to get the details and then being able to show other people, hey, look at this. Isn't this gorgeous? Isn't this amazing? Have you ever noticed these tiny little hairs on the honeybee's legs when it's collecting pollen and, and stuff like that. So yeah, macro is probably
awesome.
my happy place, I guess. And people joke about macro therapy, but I think, it's a real thing. If you like it and it does something for you and, and makes your heart happy and gives you time to pause and slow down and appreciate things. Yeah, therapy that works for me. So
one of the images I love the most from your Instagram feed was a purple flower that looked like a kaleidoscope. And I think you mentioned in the caption that had to do with something with double exposures. Is that right?
Oh, yeah. I have a few that I had tried to do that with because I thought it might be a fun series to try, where taking an image of a particular flower and then multiplying that image a number of times and kind of turning it into like a kaleidoscope type of thing. I've only done a few of them. Okay. It's a lot more tricky than my mind was telling me it was going to be. It's a lot more work to try to line them up so that they look right and cause the effect that I want. But yeah, that's something. The double exposures are fun. You can do them a number of different ways. Some people originally with film, you could take the same film, instead of advancing the frame, you would just take another photo on top of the one that you had already taken. But there are all sorts of issues with that, because if you've already taken up too much of the frame with too much light stuff in your image and you take more, it's just going to blow your frame out and you're not going to see anything. Or the way you overlay stuff, sometimes it just doesn't work very well. And then some people, super cool. I know some people who take a roll of film and they'll take all the pictures and then they'll carefully take it out and send it to somebody else who rewinds it and then reshoots over all of those pictures. And so you don't know what you're going to get, but you wind up with a whole bunch of double exposures and it's a surprise. And some of them are amazing and some of them are a disaster and don't work at all. But so that's kind of fun to do a blind double exposure that way. The digital cameras like mine, a lot of them have an option where you can in camera take 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or however many you set up to take. And you just have to remember when you're taking the photo, okay, I've got it set up for a double exposure. So when I take this and then I take something else, they're going to fuse those images together. Mine, I can't see it on the screen. It's just the model that I have doesn't do that. But some of them now, you can take a photo and then you can take another photo, but you can see in the digital display how you want to line it up to see how it's actually going to look before you press the shutter for the double, which is that's kind of cool. A lot of the ones that I do, like the ones with the flowers that are the kaleidoscope effect, are done in post-processing. And so I'll take the image and pull it into, I use Photoshop Elements. That's a whole other issue with why I don't want to pay for a subscription to Photoshop. But in Elements, I'll pull the photo in and make multiple copies of it and manipulate them and move them around. And so some of it is digital editing with all of that, but it starts off with the original authentic image. And so when I do doubles, a lot of them I do in post just because I have more control over the colors and the lighting and the placement of things. But I have done some in camera and those are fun when they work out. And when they're not, I'm like, well, tried it and it didn't work. So.
Right. Well, thank you. That's very interesting. And with that, kind of experimentation, what other ways do you like to experiment and kind of do different things with your photography, whether it's the subject or just the method?
Well, one thing that's been really a lot of fun and good for me has been different people do different photo projects, which is a whole huge topic in itself. And one of the things that a lot of people do is called a 52, a project 52. And so it's 52 weeks in a year. And so every week there's a specific thing that you do. I've done 52s through the Click community, but I've also done them through a group called 52 Frames, which is online. And it's really, I mean, it's incredible. There are people from all over the world, and every week there's a theme, and you have to try your best to shoot for that theme. Like a recent one week was blue. And so interpret that however you want. The one that I did, I used a lot of blue color, but I also tried to do the sadness feel with the blue. And that's turned out to be one of my favorite images so far this year. And then another week, there was one that was motion blur. And so I'm like, oh, I have an idea. I want to try this with my sheep and make them look like they're ghosts. So if I can get one of them to kind of freeze long enough to get the image, but then leave the shutter open long enough, and then they move, it'll kind of look like ghost sheep. I took so many pictures that did not work. And I'm like, what am I doing wrong? And so it was constant, adjusting settings and trying different things and different apertures, different shutter speeds, moving things around. And of course the sheep are like, what are you doing? Why do you keep wandering around the pasture trying to take photos of us and trying to get us to move in front of the camera? But so because of 52 frames, there are things that, that I'm like, well, I can try this. And sometimes it doesn't work out at all. And sometimes you look at this and you're like, whoa, how much time did you spend? And that just looks terrible. But other times some of my favorite images, I've created through that. And there was one from, I think it was last year. It was, a scene from a movie. And so you had to try to recreate some scene from some movie, or just something that felt like a scene from a movie. And so thankfully, my daughters are usually up for helping me out with a lot of these. The boys, not so much. They're kind of like, not interested. But the girls are usually really great about, okay, we'll give you half an hour. What do you need me to do? And I'm like, well, go put this dress on, or go do this, or go run through this field, or whatever. But for this particular one, for the theme from a movie or whatever, I actually was able to set up an image that I wound up really, really liking. And it's creepy. Like, I'm not a creepy image person. It's just not my thing. But it's fun to play with something that I wouldn't normally do, and to try to learn something that I wouldn't normally experiment with. And that image was actually selected for a juried show that opens next week. And so I was like, well, okay, so I guess, it's worth playing around and spending the extra time and, learning something new and stepping out of what I normally do. So that's it. 52 Frames has been great, and it's completely free. I mean, there's, a paid tier and everything else, but it's been fun to do that, and to have a smaller group within that, where we share images with each other and get feedback and say, what do you think of this? Or does this give you this feeling? Or what do you think I could change? Or how could I crop this? Or should I try and shoot this again with a different lens or a different perspective? Do you think? And it's nice. It's nice to get feedback from a smaller group of people, but you're all working towards the same weekly theme. So that's been, been a really good thing for me. And I think this is probably my 4th year with 52 Frames. So it's, being just dedicated and intentional to every single week produce an image. And like I said, they're not always great. Like, if you look at them, you might be like, wow, she's really bad at this. But then other ones, I'm like, wow, that's, I actually like that. And that turned out. So.
Right. And to be able to give yourself that kind of freedom, just like it can work out, it cannot, but I'm going to have fun with it and experiment. And
right. And I think I used to care and try to have a very curated feed, because, you're supposed to make everything look cohesive, and it's supposed to be curated, and someone should look at your thing and everything should look like it goes together. Mine doesn't. It's all over the place, and I don't care, because I'm doing this for me, not for anybody else who's going to look at it and say, oh, well, that picture doesn't fit with all of these other ones. I mean, a lot of mine are very, very similar, but then you'll see the outlier and you're like, what was she doing? but it's okay. It's fun to experiment and to throw something out there, and you never know who might see that and say, oh, that's super cool. How did you do that? And I don't know. I've seen images and reached out to the people who've taken them, and everyone has been so kind and so helpful. And some people have taken a lot of time to walk me step by step through, hey, this is how I did this. And then I did this. And then I did this. Oh. And then I had to do this other thing. So a lot of people are very willing to, if you really are sincere and you really are interested in how they created something, a lot of them are more than willing to walk through their process. It's been I don't, the photography community is kind. At least the places where I am are kind. I'm sure there are some places that
Right.
the people are awful and rip each other to shreds and have just negative things to say. But it's been great for me to have, the online communities.
Right. That's the same in any community, I suppose, you know.
Yeah.
But you have had some significant success. I noticed you've had a number of awards and been a part of a number of juried shows and so forth, and had photos on publications. What are some of the ones that meant the most to you or that you enjoyed the most?
For more sentimental reasons, I think we had a 2-page center spread of our first livestock guardian, a Great Pyrenees that we had, that just, I loved the image, and for other people to love that and to put it in a magazine in full color so everyone could see it. She died a few years ago, but just the initial dog that we started with that, that got us familiar with all of the livestock guardian stuff. That was really special to me just for sentimental reasons. Then I had an image that was in a juried show in Columbus at the Metropolitan Library in their Carnegie Gallery. And so I was over the moon thrilled about that. I was like, this is so cool. Look at my photo in here with, and all these people walking through can see this. And so that was really fun too, just because, I mean, Carnegie sounds amazing, right? So just, to have that was neat too. And then years ago, when we first moved here to Ohio, I had kind of on a whim entered some photos in one of the local fairs. And that kind of really gave me the kick that, okay, this is fun and you can do this and other people actually like what you do. Because that very first year I had best in shows in both the color and the black and white. And I was just blown away. I'm like, oh my goodness, like somebody likes my stuff, So that was quite a while ago, but that was a really nice affirmation. And I would love to say, oh, I don't care what anybody thinks, and I don't need anyone to tell me that my stuff looks good. But it's nice. It's nice to be acknowledged. It's nice for people to say, I like what you do, or I noticed that, you captured this beautifully, or I really like this picture of whatever. The impact that just an encouraging word can have for probably all artists is huge. And I think if more people recognize that, they might be a little more free with their with their affirmations, because we all want to be immune from needing that pat on the back, but we're not. So
are there any other challenges or online communities that you have really enjoyed?
There have been different ones, different group challenges throughout the years that have been a lot of fun. I don't do all of them all the time because it would just be too much. There was one that was super fun that a couple years ago we did that was classic literature quotes, which, I mean, I love that because I love books and classic literature is so good. And so we had a list of quotes, and then we'd try to create something that went along with that. Like there was, Anne of Green Gables, and there was Little Women, and there was To Kill a Mockingbird, and just different stuff like that. And so that was a fun one to be able to try to come up with a storytelling image to go along with the quote. I've been in different ones where, where we share images of our pets, or different ones where we share teens. That was a good one, because teens are kind of tough sometimes with getting them in the frame. And so to intentionally know that, okay, every month I have to have an image with one of my teens in it, gave me a reason to be like, hey, when do you have some free time? Mom would really like to borrow you for for a little while. And so it was nice to actually have photos of the kids on purpose, because I mean, they're in casual photos all the time, at holidays and things like that, but to sit down with them and try to actually do a portrait or something was nice.
Yeah, that's awesome. And we talked about some of the technical aspects of what you do, like the macro photography and the editing and so forth. And you mentioned how, doing some of the kaleidoscopic photos means that you're doing a lot in post-processing, but that it still starts with an authentic photo.
Right.
How do you feel about AI and, where that's coming from? And like, how do you set your photos aside as authentic? And, how should people kind of think about authenticity like that versus AI?
Well, it seems like AI has just exploded onto the scene the last, year or two, especially. And there are so many applications for it. And some of them are fabulous, like just wonderful ways to use it for really good things. And I'm sure there are way more ways than I can even conceive of where people can use it for stuff that's really beneficial. I'm not anti-tech, but the issue I have with AI is that it rips off other people's work to generate its own thing. And so it's difficult to say that someone is creating something when what it's based on is somebody else's work. I know that the newer Photoshop programs have some AI applications where it can correct things or change someone's outfit or fill in a background or whatever. So, I mean, I don't know. I haven't played with that because I don't have the real Photoshop, but I think people can use it and it won't alter the reality of their image for some things. But when people plug in a prompt and come up with this amazing image and they post it online and then they get all of these likes and all of these shares and all of these comments and they pretend like it was something that they actually took a photo of, it makes me cringe. I'm like, why would you do that? Why would you not want to go to that place yourself? And I understand we can't all travel. I mean, there are places I would love to go that I'm probably never going to see in my lifetime. But don't fake it. Put in the time and put in the effort and put in the work and go to the place and create the picture yourself. Sure, bring it into post-processing later and clean it up or add a little bit of contrast or crop it differently or something. But don't just come up with something from everybody else's work and pretend that it's something that you did. And not that everyone who does that is trying to deceive people, but I think there is a lot of deception and people are finding it harder and harder to know what's real and what isn't. There was a picture of some mountain range or something. And the person was like, oh, I went out to this place and did this hike and blah, 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 and fabricated this entire story. And it was funny because people in the comments were calling them out and they're like, no, you didn't. They're like, this is not where you're saying it is. You've never been there. It doesn't look like this. There's not a river on that side of the mountain and like all this other stuff. And so I'm like, aha, yeah, you got yours, because you lied about it. I mean, some of the AI stuff is really pretty, but it's not real. And I think even more with how everyone is so in their offices and on their computers and on their phones and everything else, I think there's a desire for real, authentic stuff. And so if I can create my piece and I can put it out there, it might not get as many eyes on it as some amazing fabricated landscape from wherever, but I can share my story, like my process, why I went to this spot or what I like about this spot or how I had to get up 4 mornings in a row really early because I wanted to get that perfect sunrise. And it wasn't until that 4th day that I caught it, and just the intention and the effort. And I think that resonates with people. I think people want to know that this stuff really does exist in the real world. It's not all fake. There is amazing, fabulous, wonderful, beautiful, awesome stuff out there. You just might have to put in a little bit of effort to see it. But the effort is what makes it even more valuable once you get that, So I think people want real and I think people want authentic. It's just becoming harder and harder to know what that is because there is so much fake out there. So yeah, I'm not anti-AI, but it'd be nice if there was a definite differentiation when people are sharing things that, yes, I actually was here and I actually saw this and I actually did this versus I came up with a really great prompt and it gave me this picture.
Right. I think that's in every artistic format. It's going to be a challenge to keep determining, what is really real and what is assisted in some way or completely fabricated. What does it mean to you, just in your daily life to go out and kind of be out in the world and in looking for shots?
Well, I know for me, I am not my best self if I don't get outside. I need fresh air. I need, sunshine or rain or wind or snow or whatever the weather is. And even if I kind of grumble about it, like, oh, it's raining again, it's still worth it to put on the rain gear and the boots and go outside, even for a little bit, just to breathe something other than the air inside my house. or just to be somewhere other than running through the grocery store trying to get stuff or whatever. There have been so many studies and so much research done, and it seems like especially lately, maybe because people need it more, about the importance of spending time outside and the importance of nature and how that affects people, not just physically, like getting out and doing stuff and moving your body, but emotionally and mentally as well, and how it's really good for people. And I think we're made to spend time outside and to appreciate the bigger real world that's around us. So for me, it just getting outside, the camera gives me a reason, like an excuse, like, oh, I need to go take pictures of whatever. But really, I mean, I could just go outside and not take the camera with me as well. But that's one of the things that just relaxes me and kind of puts me in a better headspace is to be outside and to take the camera. And sometimes the joke is that I carry all of this kit with me, like all these different lenses and however many pounds of gear, because I might need this lens for this, or I might need this other lens for this, or I might need this tripod for whatever. So I've got 20 pounds of gear or whatever, and sometimes I do this whole hike carrying all this stuff and I don't once pull out the camera, which is okay, because if I didn't have it, I would it'd probably be something that I would wish I had the camera for. But the joke is I take the camera and then I don't see anything, but then when I don't have it, I see all these amazing things. But yeah, just to be able to go out and just spend time outside on purpose, not even looking for a specific thing, but just seeing, being open to whatever is revealed in front of me that is unique to that place and time, because what's there today is not going to be there tomorrow necessarily, and just being able to share that with other people is really great. I'm kind of hoping that, I spend time outside and I see all these amazing things. So maybe people who aren't able to do that can at least catch a glimpse of that. Because I know that there are some people who would probably love to be outside, but they're homebound or bedridden, or they're in, some locked in some concrete jungle somewhere with no access to parks. So hopefully being able to go out and do that and share that hopefully means something to others who can't.
And I know you do a lot of your photography just right around your home and your area there. Have you traveled any other places or seen any other sites that like have been your favorite places to go and photograph?
Well, like you mentioned, home is my favorite place. It's just, I'm always here. And so I can rush outside when something happens or when I see something. And then I can kind of document the different seasons, and it's caused me to know, when the bluebirds come back in the spring. I know when to start expecting them because I've been watching them for however many years, or to know when the crocuses are going to bloom, or when the forsythia does this, that means that within a couple weeks, this is going to happen. So home is my favorite just because it's here and it's accessible and, I don't know. And that's, that is my favorite. But that said, I would love to be able to travel to different places. The national park system in this country is phenomenal. Like the number of wild spaces and just jaw-dropping, gorgeous things. It's incredible. We only have one national park in Ohio. I think there are probably historical areas and all that other stuff, but as far as like the actual park system, Cuyahoga Valley National Park, and it's really cool. We've been up there a couple of times. It's a little bit far from us, but just but that's a great place to photograph. They've got these amazing rock formations and these really great trails through the woods and different stuff like that. And, egret nests and things or herons. And it's fun. And the first time I ever saw a river otter, well, I guess, how would it be? Yeah, I guess it would be river otter in the wild was up there, which was, that was a thrill. But so that one's close and we like that. But our favorite park is Mohican State Park, which is not super far from us. We go up there all the time just because it's relatively close and we've gotten to know the different trails and we know where the caves are and we know where the waterfall is and all that stuff. And so that's one of the places where if I go up there, I can pretty much set the kids loose and they can go do whatever they want because we'll all kind of meet up eventually at the end. And just, so that's our park. That's the place that we like. Mm-hmm. And our county park system is fantastic too. They've got some great trails, a lot of opportunities for people in the area. One trip that was amazing was a couple of years ago for our anniversary. My husband and I went out to Yellowstone and the Tetons, and neither of us had been out there before. And it was it was amazing. Like everything that people say about it was true 100 times. It was fantastic, and it was beautiful. We went in the fall, so that wasn't quite as crowded, and the weather was great. We went from sunny to like snowing and all this other stuff, but that was just, it was beautiful. I have one or two images from the Tetons, especially. Yellowstone was neat, but the Tetons, oh my goodness, just beautiful. But I have a few images from there that just, I still see them, and I think, I remember how that felt, just being almost in tears because I can't believe that I get to see this. So that's, so we really appreciated that, the opportunity to go on that trip. And, there's a lot of places I would like to visit. I don't know that I ever will, but I've got my, my list, and it doesn't help that I see all these images from other people, and they're like, I went here and I saw this, and I'm like, oh, that's beautiful. I want to go there. And then this other one, and I'm like, oh, that looks really great too. So if I had, unlimited time and unlimited money and someone to take care of, the farm while we were traveling around, that would be great. But that may have to wait.
Now, you mentioned when you were talking before that there were some artist in residency programs that had been available at the national parks. Of course, in the current environment, we're not sure that those will be available, but can you describe the opportunities that those offer?
Yeah, I can't say from personal experience because I have yet to get accepted into one of them. But this is the first year that I even thought about putting in an application. So I applied for a few different ones. Some of them have already replied and said, due to current things that are going on, we are not offering the program. Sorry, save your application and apply again in the future, type of thing. But the Park Service and like the Bureau of Land Management, and then some individual communities, I'm sure there's a ton of other ones too, have artist in residency programs. A lot of them, at least through the Park Service, they basically provide you a place to stay, usually in the park for a set time, 2, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 1 week, whatever their time frame is. I think most of the ones I was looking at were 2 or 3 weeks. So they set you up with a place to stay and give you time and space to work on your art. And those are open to, to writers and to musicians and to painters and to photographers and to sculptors, like all sorts of different media. And a lot of them, when you submit your application, you explain, why you think you would be a good fit and what you hope to achieve. And if you have any projects that would benefit the park or that you want to work on that would be best worked on at that space. And one of the things that, this might sound weird, but one of the things that really interests me are native grasses. I think the whole thing with the ecosystem and the grasses and the pastures and the prairies and, and the impact of animals through time and all of that thing. And just the flowers that grow in different seasons and everything. I find that really interesting. And so one of the places is known as a place that has an amazing grassland ecosystem. And so part of my application for them, I was like, well, I love that. That's great. I take lots of pictures of grass, which is weird, but some of my favorite pictures I've taken are of grass. So, and so just saying, hey, this would benefit me because of this, and this would benefit you because I could document the different species that you have in your park and everything else. And so some of them have, they want a little more information. Some of them, they're just like, send us some of your work and, come up with some programming ideas, because they want people to engage. There's a huge history of artists in the park. So the most famous one is probably Ansel Adams, with just his series that he took of different, parks out west, especially. But trying to engage the public and say, here is something that should draw you in and make you want to visit these really cool spaces. And, someone might see a painting or a photograph from, say, the Tetons and say, oh, that's gorgeous. I want to go there, type of thing. And so the artist in residence gives the artist a chance to work and gives them the space to work and gives them an amazing environment to work in. And in exchange, you produce a piece of art for the park and you do a program or two to try to, to engage the public and let them know what you're working on. So, and a lot of them are not paid, but that's okay because you're getting your housing. And there's some discussion in the art community. If you're doing a residency, they should pay you because they need to pay you for your time. Okay, that's a great idea. I would just be excited for the space and the time to work, and to be able to be there. So.
Right. Huh. That's really neat.
Right.
Do you have projects that are coming up, whether it's, one of the online 52 projects or other things you're working on, like for a show?
Yeah, I'm still plugging away at the 52 frames thing, and I don't know how many years I'll do that. There are some people on there who've been doing it for 10 years or whatever, every single week faithfully doing a picture. I don't know that I'm going to last that long. We'll see. Well, two fun things that I did recently that hopefully I'll get a chance to do again. Over in the fall, there's a bluegrass festival that happens sort of in our area, and I had contacted them and I said, hey, I don't do concert photography normally, but this would be super fun if you would let me, type of thing. And so it was okay, we'll give you, we'll let you come and not have to pay for tickets and you can take some photos and we'll see if we can use them. Well, she was like, these are so great. I love these. You'll have to come back next year. So that was fun. That was just a fun thing. Wow. And then, one of my sons is with the fire department. And so they've done some different, controlled burns. Like they had an old structure that they were burning down, but while they were doing that, they were letting the firefighters train on whatever it is they have to train on, when they're doing that type of thing. And they also did like a cold water, an ice rescue thing. And so to get to go out and take photos of them doing their stuff, that was a really cool opportunity. Wow. And that way they've got some photos for their social media, and the people in the department have some photos of them doing their job and practicing. So that was fun. So I don't know if I'll get asked back to do anything with them or not, but that was cool. I'll probably just keep plugging away with my, my different projects until inspiration strikes. And I think, I should do this for a project or something else. I mean, I'll still be submitting to some different shows, and, keeping up with my different online community projects.
Great. Well, thank you so much for explaining your process and where you get your inspiration, and for spending the time with us today. And
sure.
Hope to see more of your photos on Instagram, and we'll make sure we have all of those links in the show notes for people to check out your page and the 52 frames and the Click community and so forth.
Great.
So, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Shayna.
Thank you for joining me on this episode of Growing Inspiration. I hope you found today's conversation as inspiring as I did. If you enjoyed the show, please take a moment to subscribe and share it with your friends. To dive deeper into the world of arts and creativity, visit my website at gardenofmydelights.com for exclusive content and resources, including show notes. Don't forget to subscribe to my newsletter for the latest updates and insights. You can also connect with me on Instagram for more inspiration at Garden of My Delights. Until next time, keep nurturing your creativity and looking for beauty and wisdom all around you.